Hello, beautiful people. I am so sorry that we are starting this session quite late. I was talking, I didn't know that I had not clicked on the go live. So please, if you're watching me, please indicate in the comment section. I am so sorry that we are starting about 9 minutes late. I was just talking at the back end of the studio and I didn't know that I had not clicked the go live session. And I was like, where's everybody? I'm not seeing anybody. Until I now looked, I said, oh, geez, I've not even clicked on go live yet. So please, I'm sorry if you're part of this session. I know that the notification came out late, but this particular session I had planned for it to hold on Thursday, this Thursday that just passed, but I wasn't feeling too well. Like after the last live session I did, me and my baby, we fell ill and we had to go to the emergency sometime twice. And we just kind of pulled out of that situation now. And I'm a little bit feeling strong. I was pumped up for the year, like, yay, after gaining clarity and is ready to start pressing the year, like pressing the year. And then, hi, Linda, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. So I have not been feeling well. That's why you've not seen any videos from me. And I just felt that I needed the rest. But kind of at some point, I was like, why am I starting this year with ill health? It doesn't make any sense. I was really, really looking forward to starting the year with momentum, high momentum, and then I had to slow down a little bit because I wasn't feeling so well. My baby wasn't feeling so well. We went. Hi, Tokode, thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Mide, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me wherever you're joining me from. Thank you so much for joining me on this session. I know that this session was kind of, the notification was short, but I'm so appreciative that you can take your time out to join me on this session. My guest said he will be about 20 minutes late, so we can still hold on the fort until my guest comes. And if you have any questions, let's just use the opportunity to be answering your questions now before my guest comes, because when my guest comes, we'll be talking about the Canadian real estate, the outlook for 2025. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this live session. It was a very short notice, and but I'm really grateful. Okay. Abio, Lois, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lois. Thank you so much. So I don't know, I don't know whether you watched the video where I mentioned that we sold our property at a loss in 2023. And that experience just made me kind of, I kind of just was not interested in real estate. So you can ask any question, maybe immigration and all of that, but today's topic is about the Canadian real estate outlook. But any question you have, we can talk about that. And before the guest comes, and then we dive straight into the topic. Okay, so I mentioned that video that we sold our property at a loss. We didn't get anything. The down payment went down the drain, everything went down the drain, and that experience just made me kind of step back on anything real estate investment in Canada. But this year, I've just been evaluating things again to see, okay, if you have one negative experience, you should not just cancel it out entirely. Yeah, getting a house is a good idea. Plus, yeah, they are so expensive. Yeah. So, I've just been evaluating things like, do I go into it? Do I not go into it? And then one of my friends is also going through another experience again where she bought a property, a condo for rent, and she gave the property to a property manager to manage the property, but the property manager did not do due diligence very well. One of the fears of people investing in properties for rent is getting good tenants, because Canada is not like Africa where you can do some kind of jungle justice if you really want to. You have to follow due process in terms of trying to evict people that are not serious, or people that are destroying your property, or people that are not paying and all of that. So people tend to push it to property managers who have the experience on looking for good tenants. But this, my friend, what she's going through right now, I'm just like shaking my head. I don't understand. It's like there are forces fighting against people who want to make money through real estate. That's the way I will call it. Because I don't know how a property management company would look for a tenant that at the end of the day, the tenant is still not paying rent, but the property management company is collecting their monthly, what do you call it now? Their monthly commission from the tenant. So the tenant is not paying complete rent. Let's say the rent is about 1,500 CAD. The tenant will just come up with one excuse. Oh, my door did not close well today. Therefore, I will not pay complete rent for this month. The tenant will now pay only $1,000. And out of that $1,000, the property management company will collect their own commission of $200 and then give my friend $800. And my friend is asking, I don't understand you guys. I gave you guys this property to manage and give me a good tenant. Now I am suffering from a tenant not paying complete rent. So that is the situation my friend is facing right now. And I'm like, I don't understand. Is it that some people are really getting it good? But if you listen to some people who say they've made $1 million from real estate, they've made $2 million from real estate. How are they doing it that we are just sitting down and watching these people making $2 million, $3 million from real estate? And those of us, we are here, we are just like, are we just sitting down and watching people make the money and we are not making that money? So it's somehow, I've been evaluating things and I feel that the guest that I'm bringing in today, he will come to do justice to the Canadian real estate and how people can invest in it and become wealthy. Because, I mean, in this climate, everywhere, both in the US, what you hear people say is, you can get yourself out, you can make money or you can make your wealth through real estate. That's what everybody's singing. That's the song everybody's singing about real estate. So and then I know that for some countries, if you buy real estate, there's a possibility of you getting a permanent residency status. And Canada does not do that, except for one province that attempted to do that. They kind of did it in such a way that if you buy a property, Happy New Year, Lord Chief OX. Okay, I'll answer your question later. So let me talk about this. So buying that, what I'm talking about is buying a property and then getting points to be able to get provincial nomination or community endorsement. So when the government announced RNIP, if you remember, RNIP was a 5 years immigration pilot program that ended last year. One community called Vernon, they put it as part of their points, that for you to get points for community endorsement, that if you buy a property in their community, you will get points. And then more points will give you community endorsement. With the community endorsement, you now apply for permanent residency. So that community is the only community that I know that did that, where if you have a property in their community, you get more points and then you can apply for community endorsement and get PR. Then there's also another community in Alberta, I can't remember the name, that is doing something like that as well, where if you buy a property, not like a residential property, maybe a commercial property, you can get community endorsement as well. You can get community endorsement and then you apply for provincial nomination, Alberta provincial nomination. So when people ask me, is it possible to buy a property and then get PR? That question is tricky because it is not black and white. It's not like you buy the property and you get PR. No, you buy the property and then you go through a process and then you can get PR. So is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But is it a direct situation where you purchase property and then you get PR? No, it's not a direct situation. Okay, so let me answer this question. Happy New Year. Please, what can a graduate of welding, a one-year program in Manitoba College, do to bring his spouse to Canada after getting PGWP? Should he wait for PMP or PR? God bless. Okay, so if you are now working, make sure that your occupation falls under tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. Make sure that your occupation falls under tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 for your spouse to be able to apply for a spousal open work permit. if it falls below that category, because they said certain occupations in tier 1, tier 2, certain occupations like healthcare, construction is also part of it, which welding falls under construction, then you'll be able to bring your spouse under a spouse open work permit. So yeah. Yes, Mama Yetunde, Happy New Year. I'm back. Sorry, I was not feeling well. That's why you've not seen any of my videos. There's been a lot of Canadian immigration updates, which I'm going to share next week. I'll create videos for them and share them next week. So, but today we are talking about the Canadian real estate outlook, and I'm just summarizing what I've been talking about, that sometimes the Canadian real estate market wants to make you feel like you should step back a little bit and evaluate things before you jump into it. Or for some people, they don't mind jumping into it immediately. Like they come in within 1 year, they are buying their properties. I know a lot of people like that. They just don't care about how the market is. Their own is they don't want to be paying somebody else's mortgage. That's the way they see it. So within 1 year, they come in and they jump in. Is it possible? People be asking, 1 year, is it possible to buy a property? Yes, it's possible. So people are asking, they've not built their credit history. 1 year is too short to build a credit history to buy a property. There are mortgage brokers, there are lenders, there are tier 1 lenders, tier 2 lenders, tier 3 lenders that can lend you money to buy property. You can even buy property as much as $1 million if you have enough down payment. The catch is you must at least have at least 20% or 25% down payment for you to get a lender. Maybe not not a tier A, or is it a lender or B lender? I don't know how they call it in real estate. So those lenders are able to give you the other part of the money to buy a house. I know somebody that has done it within, like, they had not stayed in Canada for 1 year before they bought a property, a $700,000 property. And funny enough, the wife was not working in Canada, the man was not working in Canada, but they were able to buy a property in Canada. It's possible. Like, it's really, really possible if you're not in Canada to actually buy a property in Canada. But the thing is, you put a lot of money as down payment. So yeah, so that's the situation. And students can buy. I know of a student that came in. What the student is currently doing is rent to own. The student is in Ontario, somewhere in Ontario, and they are doing rent to own, meaning the company will buy it on their behalf. They'll be paying the mortgage, which is also rent, to the company, and then once they get their status, they can pay off and then collect the property, and it's their own. So people do that as well. So if you are looking to go into real estate, I would say do your maths. I'm a maths person. I like to do that mathematical analysis a lot. Although even with my mathematics, we still sold our property at a loss. But the property was sold at a loss because we bought the property too soon in that location when we knew that we were not going to stay in that location. It's just that at that point, there were no good accommodation. And I didn't want to mention the location because it's an indigenous location, right? Those of us in Canada, you try as much as possible not to say anything negative about an indigenous land. So you have to protect the community, you have to protect yourself as well. So you don't say something that will jeopardize them, and then you start getting the backlash. And that was why I didn't mention the community, and I'm not still going to mention the community because it was an indigenous community, and I don't want to mention them so that it doesn't look like it's a bad zone. No, it's not a bad. Technically, it's not a bad zone. It's a good place, kind of. But it's not easy to go and buy buy property in an indigenous man's land, and then you want to sell it. The people that are going to buy it from you, they are not much. So, of course, the property will be sold at a loss. So, with that experience, even buying in the city as well, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just kind of evaluating things. And well, some people don't see it that way. Some people try to measure their success based on the assets, the number of assets they have in Canada. I don't measure my success that way. I see things differently. Like I don't know, I'm wired differently from every other person. I don't know. So I don't see it as, you must at least, if you've lived 10 years in Canada, you must at least have 2 properties or 3 properties. Some people kind of measure their success in Canada that way. But I don't measure my success that way. My success is measured based on being alive, because that is the ultimate thing. As long as you're alive, you can always achieve anything at any age. That's the way I see things. So if you have any questions while we are still waiting for our guests, please go ahead and put it in the comment section, and I'll try to respond to your question while we wait for our guests. I'm hoping that our guests will join us in the next 6 minutes for the Canadian real estate outlook for 2025, how things are and how things can, if you're interested in buying properties, what you should be looking out for. If you're interested in buying a property and putting it on Airbnb for it to generate income for you. You know, a lot of people want to retire early, and they see owning properties and leasing it out, putting it on Airbnb as part of the ways of trying to retire. I mean, because the property will be generating income for you as replacing your own work income, so you don't have to work too much. A lot of people do that. While some people live in Canada and buy properties in the US, and they use it also, they leverage on it as well to retire early, because I mean, the US dollars is kind of higher than the Canadian dollars. At some point, I was thinking about that as well too. I've been thinking about a lot of things. Please, you're not asking your questions. So I'm just talking to myself. I want to gist with you guys now. Ask your questions so that I can try as much as possible to answer them. Any question that you have you can put it in the comment section so I can try to answer them. So, what do you think? Buying in the US or buying in Canada? Like buying a property in the US or buying a property in Canada? Which one do you think is good? Let's analyze it. Should we buy in the US? Of course, you know, US laws, they also have their own issues as well. And then I know of a Nigerian who is actually gathering people to invest $10,000 in owning a property, and then you get the people that will come together to gather that $10,000 to own a property in the US. They'll be sharing the monthly rental income. So let's say 20 people come together, invest $10,000 each. That's $200,000, 200,000 US dollars. Buy a property, let's say somewhere in, I don't want to say New York, because you hardly find $200,000 real estate properties in New York, because I mean, New York is a very expensive city. So let's say in a place like New Jersey, and then they rent it out for, let's say, $2,000 per month or $2,500 per month, and they now have to share the rental income every month. Each person will be getting like $100. Is that a good investment? Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, is that a good investment? Like investing $10,000, 10,000 US dollars with 19 other people to buy a property in the US, and then every month you're getting $100 or $150 return on your investment. If you use that 10,000 US dollars somewhere else, can you get something better? Can you get maybe like a $500 or a $600 or a $1,000 return monthly? Is it possible? Which other investment can one invest with $10,000 and get, let's say, a $1,000 return monthly? If there is one, please show me, because I'm looking for that investment. But if there is not, I don't know, because I know if you're putting it in Forex or stock, I won't say Forex. Forex is a whole lot of trading that goes into Forex or cryptocurrency. I'm not good with cryptocurrency. Anything I'm not good with, anything I don't know, I don't bother. The ones I know is the ones I invest in. Okay, so let me try to answer your question. You said, how can I invest in real estate in Canada and US? So if you're outside Canada, you can invest in real estate through real estate companies. There are real estate investment trust companies. And I know one of my friend, he's a friend, I'll say client turned friend. He has a lot of properties in the Ottawa area. In fact, not properties. He bought a massive land in the Ottawa area, and he's looking for investors, people who have money to invest. They will build the property for you. If you want the property to be sold, or if you want the property to be rented out, they can do that. Probably, maybe I should bring him to come and talk about it, so that if you want to contact him after our conversation, you can go ahead and discuss with him. So he's one of those people that came into Canada early, those days, and was able to buy a lot of land, acres of land in the Ottawa. Ottawa is the capital of Canada. And I feel that if you invest in such location, you make your money. There will be good returns on your investment. Yeah. So you have real estate investment companies. You also have um, um, some other individuals who just come together. They're just few individuals. They come together and pool resources together to invest in real estate. So it's just for you to look for those group of people, and then you of course have to have an agreement together. You sign an agreement together, and then you do the investment. I also want to mention that sometime before COVID, or was it during COVID? I think it was during COVID. I and my friends, we were about 6 of us. We wanted to do that. We wanted to come together to buy properties, like start buying properties for rent and all of that. But we signed all the agreements. We even saw the first property we were supposed to buy. After a while, there were some people were just dragging their feet and all of that. So everybody just carried their tent, oh Israel. But that is what, funny enough, if we had done that by now, we would have been in a good space. And this is what Indians are doing. Indians will just come together. They'll go and buy one space and construct properties and sell and make money. A lot of Indians, they're Indians and Chinese. There's this synergy when it comes to investing and dominating a space that we Africans, we lack. We don't have that synergy. I feel that we need to work on our community, on our coming together to, invest in assets. Okay, so let me answer this question. Do you think buying property in Canada is worth it because of high property tax and other charges? In my own opinion, right, I would say you should do your maths. Property tax is one thing. Other charges, like if you're living in the property itself, right, you should ask yourself certain questions before you try to buy a property. Like, what is the end goal for that property? For me, the way I look at things as, if I buy a property, can I rent this property out? That is what guides me. If I buy a property, can I rent this property out after some years? And if I rent the property out, how much will the property be generating for me? I know people who buy properties in Canada, they are receiving rental income, and they just go and sit down in Nigeria. They are not working again. They are retired. That's what they do. They just come, spend the first 5 to 10 years to make sure that they get enough money to buy 3 or 4 properties in Canada, properties that they can pay off within that 10 years period. If they don't pay them off, as in all of them, maybe 1 or 2 are paid off, and then the remaining 2 can still be generating rental income for them. So they will lease out all these 4 properties and go and sit down in Nigeria and be earning income in dollars. They are not working. They are retired. They are 40 years, 50 years, 45 years. They have retired. And the kind of property they bought, they didn't buy mansions. They just bought normal property in normal areas that people can rent. So they buy maybe a $300,000 property or a $400,000 property or a $250,000 property in a normal area that they know people can rent. And then they just leave those properties, go and sit down, give the properties to a property management company. Property management company will put tenants inside and be remitting monthly rent to them, and they are back in Nigeria. They are not working. They are just sitting down, earning money in dollars, Canadian dollars or US dollars. So back to your question. Buying property in Canada, is it worth it because of property tax and other charges? Property taxes is what you cannot avoid. You cannot avoid property taxes in Canada. So what you have to do, ask yourself this question. Do you want this property that you want to buy a future rental property, or you want it to be your property that you will live in? That is, you don't want the headache of having to deal with a tenant. You just want to live in the property. And what is your end goal at the end of the day? Like, do you intend to retire back to Nigeria or to any other country? And do you want to retire early? Do you, like, do you envisage for yourself? Ask yourself these questions. That should direct you on the kind of property you should buy. I will tell you my own. In my own case, this is my plan, right? My original plan was buy properties that I can rent out, pay the property off, and then go back to Nigeria and sit down and be anybody from the property. That is my original plan. Like, as in, buy it, quickly pay it off, and then go and sit down in Nigeria. I'll be collecting be collecting monthly rent. If you're collecting $1,500 or $2,000 as rent because you've paid off the property, remember you have to pay off the property because you're not doing the other style where you have to wait for 25 years before you pay it off. So people wait, they see it as a tax benefit when they are filing their taxes, right? But I don't see it that way. In my own case, I like to pay the property off on time. I don't know, my guest is delayed. Probably this session, I don't know what's happening. If he comes, no wahala, but if he doesn't come, we are gisting. Okay, so that's the way I see it. Buy the property, pay it off, and then go and sit down in Nigeria, be collecting monthly rent. Monthly rent. If you convert $2,000 or $1,800 to naira, that is almost 2 million naira in a month. You are enjoying yourself. You are a king in naira. Meanwhile, your property is working for you in Canada, right? So that's the way I see things. I like to buy properties that I know I can manage. I am not a mansion person. Never. I am not a mansion. I am not a big house person. No. I am a comfortable person. This is my personality. This is who I look. And I'm going to tell you why I got to this point, right? Before I made this decision for myself. So growing up, I grew up in big houses. My father we were five, like me and my siblings, five, and then we had lots of cousins. So I grew up in a big house. I grew up in a duplex. My uncles, they had big houses, like 6-bedroom en suite, 2 parlors and all of that. And then I observed one thing about these properties. I observed that at some point when everybody had left, the properties were just there with nobody living inside. And my mother in fact, I would say me and my husband, we did something like that. First of all, my mom, she also made the same mistake by building a very big house with all the rooms en suite. And right now, nobody is living in that house. Like, it's only one person inside that house. Like, all the other rooms are empty. And I said, no, I don't want this to continue for myself. Anywhere I find myself, I will buy a small property. So when I see people buying their $1 million mansion or their $2 million mansion or 500,000, 700,000, I don't go for such properties. I go for this small 3-bedroom flat that I know I can manage, that I know that tomorrow, if I'm leaving, I can rent it out. I know that I can pay off the mortgage within the next 5 years, and I'm done. That's me. So because I grew up in that environment where I was seeing houses abandoned, and I'm going to share my story as well. Before me and my spouse left Nigeria, we had completed our personal house and a tenant house. We only lived in our personal house for 2 weeks and then we left. Like, you just finished building your house and you live inside the house, well furnished, for 2 weeks, and then you leave. Who does that? We did that. And the house is there. It's a beautiful house in Port Harcourt. It's there. Like, the tenant is at the back. Nobody's living in the house. So because of that mindset, and I'm like, you can't continue to be doing things like this where you're building houses, nobody is living inside. It's a waste of financial resources. And because of that, I have this mindset of, if I'm going to buy a property, it's a property I can put out for rent. It should be a property that I can rent out, not a $700,000 or $800,000 house. And it should be a property that I can pay off. If I can pay it off, I'm good to go. If I can't pay it off, I'm not going to buy. So that's my mindset. That's how I think. I'm not going to buy a big detached house, and then when you want to rent it, you're looking for somebody who will be able to pay $4,000 rent or $5,000. No, I'm looking for somebody that can pay me $2,000 rent, and let me buy 2 properties or 3 properties that can be paying me. Give me that $6,000 income monthly, I can comfortably go and sit down in Nigeria and I'm making my money in Canada. Okay, so sorry, I'm just ranting. Okay, so depends on you. Like, tell yourself the truth. I've just told you this is how I think. I don't believe in buying big properties. I don't believe in buying, if the property is almost 600 or 700,000 or 800,000, just know that I won't buy. I won't buy it, because I know that if I buy such properties, I would have a sentimental attachment. I will not be able to rent those properties out. That is me. Because I have that kind of sentimental attachment to the value of the property. To rent it out will be difficult for me. So I'd rather buy the one that I know that I can just wake up and then I leave. I know I'm renting it out. The next person can rent and I'm generating income from it. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. Yeah, so yes, Olumide Emmanuel, yes, real estate business in US with 10,000. Yes, he's the one. Exactly, you just mentioned him. 10,000 US dollars real estate business investment. So I'll move on to the next question while I'm still waiting for our guests. I don't know what is happening to our guests today. It's already 40 minutes past the time. Okay, can one get in touch with you? Yes, you can. You can book through the website, www.caninfoconsult.com. You can book through the website. Yes, Patience, thank you so much for being with me. It was just an impromptu session. I just felt we should talk today. I don't know what's happening with my guest, but I believe if he joins, even if it's 10 minutes, we will still talk about the Canadian real estate. Okay. What kind of property should a first-time buyer buy? House with basement to rent or condo? So, like I said, evaluate yourself. You have to evaluate your personality and what you want for yourself. Some people buy a house with the intention of renting the basement or living in the basement and renting the top. That's some people. Some people buy a house and they don't want to rent because they're not comfortable with managing the same space with another person entirely. I fall into that category. I don't feel comfortable with having to share, let's say, a basement up. I don't feel comfortable with that. So if you feel comfortable with sharing your basement with somebody else, try to make sure that the basement has its own entrance. It should not be one entrance. I mean, I find it awkward. This is me, I'm talking about myself. I find it awkward that I go to visit somebody who is in a basement and I have to pass through another person's main entrance where I will see the person's living room and see the person's kitchen before I go to the basement where there's another person living in. I mean, for me, I find it awkward. But for you, if you don't find it awkward, fine. If you want to buy, I would say try to get a pre-construction. Pre-construction is actually cheaper, but from a credible property development company. Pre-construction properties are much cheaper because by the time the property is finished, by the time they add all the costs, the property price will go up. So if you want to go for pre-construction, and you can also use the opportunity to customize what you want. If it's a standalone house, right? If it's a standalone house, you can tell them, oh, you want the basement to have its own entrance such that there is no interference. And another thing you should watch out for is these construction companies. Some of them, they do basements in such a way that by the time you want to make it a secondary unit, and you're going to take the what do you call it now, the is it licensing? There's a name they call it, where you have to seek licensing from the from the municipal government. I'm talking about Manitoba now because I'm very familiar with Manitoba. I'm still new to New Brunswick, so I don't know how things work in New Brunswick. For Manitoba, if you're buying a property that has a basement, make sure that, and if it's a new property that they're developing, make sure that the window of the basement meets the standard for a secondary unit, so that they don't complete the property and then you enter. By the time you want to make it a secondary unit where that you rent out, they are now asking you to take another license to destroy the window that was already done for it to meet standard. So you have to know these things. Okay, so my guest is here. I'm happy that my guest is here. I'm really happy that my guest is here. So I'm going to put him live and then we will take things from there. So this is my little knowledge about real estate, right? It's my little knowledge about real estate. So you can ask the experts. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me, Mr. Opoola. I've been holding the session and I've tried from with my own little real estate knowledge. I've just been talking.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
So Mr. Opoola is a real estate expert, and I'll tell you guys, before we bought that property that we sold at a loss, I consulted with him. I spoke with him. So don't just say that. Oh, I don't know. I do my consultations with experts, and I get advice from them. You know. So I will also encourage you to do the same thing. I'm not a real estate expert. I'm just talking based on my own knowledge and my own experience. He is a real estate expert, and he has won several awards. He's been doing a lot for the community, and I'm going to also leave his contact details on on the description box of this video after this session. Like anything about real estate, especially if you're in the Manitoba area, please reach out to him. He's very, 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 very good, and I really appreciate him for taking time out to join me on this YouTube live. Thank you so much and welcome. So he has even left his phone number on the screen. You can reach out to him. He does a lot for the community and he's not taking anything, like he's not charging any money. Just please reach out to him if you need advice about real estate, buying properties in Canada and all of that. So I actually did invite him to come and talk about the Canadian real estate outlook for 2025 because, after my experience, I said I've been looking at the market again with half eye, and I spoke to him, and I feel that he would do justice to the real estate landscape. Like, what do we expect for real estate in 2025? Do we jump in? There are lots of questions already in the comment section, which I would ask later on. But I want you to, give us a brief overview of what it is like. Like, is it a best time to invest? Is this a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? Like, what kind of property should people invest in? How much price range should people be looking at? Um, what should people expect in terms of if people are going to buy properties for investment purposes just to make rental income? What should people be expecting to get in terms of rental income on the types of properties and the location where people can buy properties from? Okay, so Mr. Opoola, this is your cue to do justice to this topic. I'm so excited that you joined finally. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
thank you very much. I really appreciate this for the opportunity. Um, if I mean, do you want me to start by answering all those questions that you just asked now, or just to give an overview of 2025 real estate first?
Yeah,
Then we can jump into
you can
questions.
give an overview of 2025.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, if you notice that government has recently done a lot of policy, and one of the policies is 30 years amortization.
Mm-hmm.
So, before this time, we used to have 25 years amortization, but 30 years amortization gives you some kind of flexibility and also affordability. Affordability in the sense that um, if your mortgage is maybe for 25 years is going to be 1,500 every month. With 30 years amortization, your mortgage a monthly payment could fall maybe within 1,200, 1,200, or 1,300. I'm
Okay.
just making that, you know,
Assumption. Yeah.
throwing out the figures,
Mm.
without consulting the table. However, that is the reality. So you have the flexibility to be able to also pay even on time. You can pay in 30 years, with the 30 years amortization give you the opportunity. You can also decide to pay even in 20 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. So if you are given, for example, 25 years amortization, it means that you can only pay maximum time you can pay your mortgage is 25 years. But if you are given 30 years, it means you can extend to, you can pay in 30 years. And the advantage of that is that if you had more money into your monthly mortgage or bi-weekly mortgage. It will pay down your principal, from time to time, and it helps you to get qualified. So maybe the maximum you can get qualified for in terms of mortgage payment is around 2,500, 2,500. You know, under 25 years amortization. With 30 years amortization, you can get more qualified for that because your monthly payment, you know, reduces. So that is one of the things that the government did recently. Um, Also, you ought to notice that the interest rate is coming down.
Yeah.
The reason why the interest rate was high was to control the inflation. You know,
Mm.
there was a time 3, 4 years ago when the interest rate was about 1 point something, 2 point something, and every Dick and Harry were buying houses. And because of that, prices of items, commodities, everything in the market, was started to go high up again. Inflation started, and the government needed to control the inflation. So one of
Mm.
the measures that they brought is to increase the interest rate. The interest rate is the cost of doing business, cost of borrowing money. If you are borrowing 100,000 and you are going to be paying interest rate of 7%, 8%, compare with when you were paying 1%, 2%. So that is to restrict a lot of economic activities. And that happened to also control in the last 2 years, that happened to also control the the housing market in
Mm.
that, because the interest rate available for people now 5 point something, 6 point something. So that just, I mean, that made a lot of people to be courteous. They sit down, look, as we say back home, and see what is going to happen in this market. I cannot buy house, when the interest rate is high. Some other people are not even able to get qualified because of the high interest rate. Besides, there's also a stress test. So
Mm-hmm.
the stress test is when, even though they want to give you a mortgage of, an interest rate of 5.0, they still want to put you on a stress test of 7 point something. So if you are not able to get qualified on 7 point something, they are not able to approve that mortgage, even though eventually it's 5.0 they are approved, they are giving you. So the government also eliminated the stress test. As you
Okay.
speak, as you speak right now, there's no stress test. Which means you can get qualified much more easily. There's 30 years amortization. The interest rate is going down. That those are good opportunity for people who want to buy properties at this time. The first time home buyers and also home buyers, maybe second or third. And most importantly, the investor, the people who provide housing for other people. This is a good time for them to buy. That
Mm.
is not to say that, and another thing that we also need to know, for the investors who are savvy, they were actually getting good deal in the market because of the high interest rate. Because a lot of people were not buying, so the little inventory that are in the market, people were able to negotiate well to get for the right price.
Mm.
However, 2025 is giving a lot of us opportunity. The first time home buyer, this is the time you need to go to come to the market and buy your property. But let me tell you one secret about real estate. The best time to buy real estate was yesterday,
Okay.
and the only good time to buy it is today.
Okay.
So if you wait for tomorrow, you are not going to be able to buy for the price of today, because
That's
you know the real estate is God's money, just like gold, just like diamond. It's God's money. And God's money, God has a way of protecting them.
mm.
In that, if you plan for the future, if you buy and hold for the future, it's a great way to invest your money. Buy and hold for the future, I say.
Future. Mm. Not buy and sell like me and sell at a loss.
your own case was because you bought quickly,
Yeah,
and you want to sell in maybe few, how many years time?
it was just roughly 1 year.
Okay,
Yeah, roughly 1 year.
so that is the because when you are buying, there's a closing cost. The
Uh-huh.
closing cost is the cost of transaction. For example, uh, the agents on both sides of your transaction, they are going to be paid. The
Uh-huh.
lawyers are going to be paid. If you use an inspector to check the property, they are going to get paid. You know, and you are also paying tax to the government, land transfer tax. So if it has not really appreciated to take care of all these expenses, you, most likely you are going to lose money, except you buy a property in dilapidated stage
Uh-huh.
and with the aim of renovating it to improve the value
Yeah.
and sell for a profit. That is
Mm.
the only way, which people call flipping today. That is the only
Flipping.
way
Yeah.
you can make money in a short time. That could be done 2, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and you still make money. But when you are buying a property that is ready, we call it turnkey, that you don't
Mm.
need to do anything and want to sell immediately, oh, you are likely going to lose out money.
Mm. Okay, so I'm going to start posting some of the questions and actually answer them. But like I told them, I'm not an expert. You are the expert, so you will be the one to give the best advice. Um, so this question is: do you think buying property in Canada is worth it because of high property tax and other charges? So please respond to this
Okay,
question.
so people like me are full time in real estate in Canada. Okay, so 1 out of 3 Canadians invest in real estate. 1 out of 3 Canadians invest in real estate, and we all make money in real estate. So when you are doing business, there's what we call cost of transaction. The property tax, the insurance, and also some of the bills you have to pay for your hydro, for your water, heating the house. They are all part of the cost that is associated with the business.
Mm,
So and for any business you have cost. So but yours is to sit down and analyze, oh, will it make sense for me if I buy this property? If I buy this property, what will be the income that will come from this property in terms of investment if you are not living there, or you want to live there at the same time also rent part of it out? So what will be the income that is going to come? Compare with what will be the expenses in terms of mortgages, in terms of insurance, the
taxes. Yeah.
property tax, and all the utility bills like water bill, electricity bill that you are going to be paying. So yours is to sit down and, to tell you the truth, you cannot make money in all the properties. That is where we have an expert so that you can identify what and where to buy, what
Mm,
and where
and
to buy,
where?
what and where to buy.
Yeah.
That is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense to
Yeah.
I mean Canada provide an opportunity for stability. It's
Mm,
very stable here. You can predict the future. You know, no government can come and say, "Oh, your house, we want to build new roads," and no
and
compensation,
destroy it. Yeah.
and no compensation because we have not bought the right way. There's never been anything like that here.
Mm,
So there's a rest of mind on your investment.
true.
To answer that your question.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. What kind of property should a first-time buyer buy? House with basements to rent or condo?
Okay, so and again, affordability. Because if you want to buy a house, the first thing we advise you is uh, we refer you to a mortgage person who is going to assess you. Will tell you how much
You can afford.
you can afford to buy because they compare your incomes versus your debt. So they tell you how much you can afford to buy. For example, if you are able to afford to buy a home of 500,000 and you also want to rent part of it out, that is great. You can buy
Mm,
a bungalow and rent part of it out. Maybe the basement is finished, or you have to finish the basement in the future. You know, rent part of it out that is going to help you to pay your mortgage. That is a smart move. We call it house hacking.
Yeah.
Ah, however, if you are not able to afford that, start from what you can afford. Uh, if it's a small condo you are able to afford, condo of 200, 300,000, buy it. But this is what I tell people. Will I buy a condo if I'm approved for 350,000? Do I use to buy a condo or buy a small detached house? I will advise you to buy a small detached house,
That
a
house.
bungalow, for example, because condo is good, beautiful. In fact, one of the main things that attract a lot of people to condo is the beauty.
Yeah.
I mean, well maintained, sheer maintenance. However, if you're looking at it as an investment for a long time,
Mm.
compared with a detached house, might not be the best. The appreciation rating of condo is not all that fantastic
Yeah.
compared with a detached house. So, but instead of not buying anything, I mean, I would advise people start from somewhere. If you are not able to afford the big one today, you may be able to afford it tomorrow. In fact, some of my clients who purchased big houses last year, they were able to afford those big houses because they have held smaller houses for 3 to 5 years, and they use the equity in the smaller houses to be able to buy the bigger houses.
Mm.
That is a smart move. If they have not bought the smaller houses, I mean that time, and say they are going to wait till they're able to afford the bigger houses, that time may never come.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll move on to the next question. Is it possible to find a firm to build if one buys land, and how does building approval process comes into play?
So when you say buying land, where do you get land to buy? Yes, you can get land to buy anywhere, and you can also get builder. But don't forget that all these are regulated.
Mm.
I mean, for example, you cannot go to, I mean, just a bush and buy and expect that, oh, maybe in a few years, uh, the government is going to provide all the amenities there, like the sewer, like the roads, like the,
The
electricity.
power connection. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you have to buy land where you know that all those things are planned. They are going to make provision for them in no time. And if you buy, you can invite a builder too to come and build for you. However, you have to know this: the construction loan mortgage is different from ordinary conventional mortgage.
Yeah.
There's high interest rate in construction loan. I mean, where you're having 4 point something for the normal mortgage, construction possibly start from 12%.
Wow. That's
So,
a huge
and they release the
8%
money,
difference.
by milestone. So, but you can do it. You can still save cost, but it involves a lot of stress, and it's not everybody that qualify for a construction loan. And if you are going to do a construction loan, it's required that you have to put in more than payment,
Wow.
because you are not going to put 5% down and say I want a construction loan. Most lender will not entertain that. They want you to put minimum of 20% down. So if the house is going to cost 500,000 to build, you're expected to put 20% down. Compare when you are buying a new house that is just 5%. So, but you can still save costs and do a lot of things, but you have to know all this.
Mm.
I mean, if you don't know all this and you just go in without adequate knowledge, it may backfire.
Okay. Okay. So I just quickly want to pick up something. I'll put on the next question so that you can try to answer it. So which one do you think is cheaper between building your property or buying a ready-made property? I think you answered something like that, but maybe
Well,
you can.
building your own should be cheaper.
Yeah.
You should save cost, but unfortunately, for lack of knowledge, you may spend more money than even you buying. So if you are not prepared with adequate knowledge, adequate people surrounds you, because you need a team of experts that will surround you. So you may end up spending more money. So you need people who have done it before, who are experiencing in doing it for people, to be able to save that cost. Otherwise, you end up spending more money and thinking that you want to save money. The actual fact, by experience, the first time you are going to do it, you are going to spend more money to build than what you are going to save. But the secret is about getting the right people behind you, connecting with the right people, who are doing it, the experts who are able to help you out. I hope I answered that question. Yesterday.
Okay. Sorry, I had to pick up something. I'll move on to the next question. Please, from a real life point of view, what is the average cost of a house and best location for newcomers? What does it take to own a property?
Okay. So the average cost of a house depends from one location to the other. For example, in Manitoba, it's about 400. In Brunswick, it might be a little bit cheaper, maybe 350 or so. In Toronto, it's much expensive, maybe about 800.
Yeah.
So it's differ from one location to the other.
To another.
However, what does it entail? For a newcomer to get his own house, to buy his own house, is getting a job. Be on that job for at least full-time job. For most lenders, look at full-time job for 6 months. Get minimum of 5% down payment. So if you are going to buy a house of 500, for example, you need minimum of 5% down payment, which is 25,000. Save over at least 90 days, and you also need the closing cost, which is about 2%, between 1.6 to 2%. So in total, you are going to need about 7% of that 400 of 500,000, and you must have been working for, at least 6 months. Most lender, that is what they do. Some lender do consider full time 3 months, but most of them is 6 months, and your partner too, doing the same thing. So it is the mortgage people, the finance advisor, the bank that will assess you based on your income, based on the debt that you have. I advise people, if they want to buy a house, don't buy new car yet. Let that new car wait. Buy the house first. When you close down the house, you can buy the new car that you want. Some people are riding new car and they are paying about 600 on that new car. So if they want to give them mortgage, and they say the maximum mortgage they can give them is 2,000, and they're already paying about 600 every month for the car. So it means the maximum mortgage they will qualify for, it's going to be about 1,400 every month, and maybe that is about 300,000 house or less, and they are looking and say, oh, well, that is not the kind of house that you want. We want a bigger house, like 500, 600, 700. Oh, but because of the car, for now, you are not able to afford that. This is how much we can approve for you. So when people want to buy a house, they can still go on with the used car. They buy with cash that they have, until they are able to get the house. So those are the advice for newcomers.
Yeah, but there are situations where I know somebody who didn't have a job in Canada. They were newcomers. Like, the wife didn't have a job in Canada. The husband was still working in Nigeria, and they were able to buy a $700,000 house in Manitoba, in Winnipeg. So, but I know they did put a
AI down payment.
Yes,
yeah. Yes.
So yeah, such situations also happen as well too.
Yeah. If people are able to put higher down payments, then everything is easier. There was a time that one of the smaller lenders here was giving newcomers, whether they have a job or not, if you can put 50% down, even if you don't have a job, they are going to give you mortgage. I know that
50% down is small money. It's big money. Oh.
it's big money, and I also know the time they were asking them for 30%. So I mean, the requirement of one lender is different
The
from
other.
the other, but generally we want to say, I mean, these are the standard things that most lenders look at. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, the unfortunate thing is that, which I don't personally like, is that Nigerian jobs are not recognized here.
Mm.
Unlike if it's an European job, Australian job, you can use it to get mortgage in Canada
And still put a 5% down.
and still put 5%. Yeah, but maybe the wife or the husband has to be here.
Okay.
Yeah, and working here. But most on most occasions, the Nigerian job is not recognized for mortgage here. And I advise people who want to buy a home here, if they have children that are working here, family members, friends, it's become much more easier for them to buy a home in Canada.
Okay. So is it possible, let's say, for somebody who's an international student to also buy property? International students, maybe on postgraduate work permit. Is it possible
Yeah,
for
they
them to
can.
buy
They can. Anybody that has a legal stay in Canada can
in
buy. The
Canada?
requirement is different. For example, work permit holder, most lender will say minimum of 10%. Some
Okay.
lender will say 20%. So it depends from one lender to the other. But anybody
Okay.
with legal stay in Canada
Yes.
can get their own house, can
Okay.
buy their own house.
So even visitors can buy their own houses as
No,
well.
no, no. A visitor does not have a legal stay in Canada. A
what
visitor,
what if they
actually,
want?
before
Okay.
a foreigner can buy a home in Canada,
Okay.
until a few years ago when they canceled that.
Okay.
So I mean, for now, a visitor cannot buy, but maybe they can buy through a proxy, their family members, their friends, their children. Yes,
What are real estate investment trust companies? Can they invest their funds into such companies?
yes, yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
I just wanted, because I mentioned it, I just wanted you to confirm that so that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
at least I know that I still have small
yeah.
knowledge in real estate.
No, no, no. You actually have adequate knowledge, and you're a successful investor, and you are doing very well.
Yeah, yeah.
I admire your courage.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. If one buys a house on a mortgage, can he pay off after 2 years, or are there penalties for not keeping the 25 years amortization contract?
There are penalties, but you can pay the penalties as well. I mean, there are penalties if you have. I mean, one thing that some of us that are immigrants in this country, one of the crazy things that we really find crazy is the fact that, number one, when you come and you are doing well, you have a job, the bank will call you, they will send you an email that they want to give you more credit.
Mm,
We don't enjoy that back home. It's
mm,
At first we usually reject it because we don't want it. Oh,
mm,
I mean, there's a saying that I usually say in my local language in Yoruba, and say, Emma Somi Dominic Bese. That is, I'm rejecting it. I don't want to advance in debt. I'm looking for more money, not debt. However,
mm,
that is the system here. So, and also when you take a mortgage and you say, I want to pay quickly, they look at you and say, okay, this is how much you are going to pay as penalty. Of course, there's penalty, but you are going to pay. But
mm.
you can pay your mortgage as quickly as you want it.
Yeah,
Actually, most lenders will give you that you can pay up to 20%.
yeah,
Most lenders will do that. So if you take a mortgage of 1 million and you decide to be giving out 200,000 every year,
every year.
5 years you're going to pay out
Pay that. Yeah.
the mortgage. So most lenders will allow you to do that without any penalty.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want to do more than that, most lenders will say, "Oh, go and pay penalty,"
Mm.
because they depend on your all those monthly money
So much
that
more
comes.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. I bought a house 1 year ago. The mortgage is 50% of my take-home pay. I am considering selling and buying cheaper house or rent. What will you advise?
Okay, let me understand that question very well. Bought a house 1 year ago. The mortgage is 50% of the take-home pay. Okay, I see. Well, you understand this is if I do not have detail of your finances, I'm not able to answer this question. adequately, do justice. But what I would say, if I were you, I would look at, okay, this property that I buy that is taking 50% of my take home pay. How can I create value in the house so that at least somebody will help me to pay the mortgage? That is the approach that I will use. So let's say, for example, I have a space in the basement that I can do a room or two rooms, and it can generate income, but it's going to require me to spend 10,000 to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I can borrow that 10,000 and create that value in the basement, and be generating extra thousand, extra 1,000 every month. So that will help me to be paying my mortgage. That is one way that I will look at it. Um, Another way that even if I cannot borrow money, I mean, is privacy really important to me at this point? So if I can
Yeah.
rent a room, but maybe it's a 3 bedroom or 4 bedroom, if I can rent a room for 750, and the person is going to be living with me, that is another way. Without doing any addition or subtraction to the property, the way it is. And if I cannot do all that, you also ask yourself, if I sell the property right now, am I going to make money or am I going to lose money?
Mm.
I need somebody to tell me the truth. If you buy it not quite, maybe 1 year ago or 1.5 years ago, you are likely to lose money.
Yeah.
In most parts of Canada in the last 2 years, we have not really enjoyed appreciation, but rather market correction.
Mm-hmm.
So that you are likely to lose money. Are you prepared to lose the money? So these are different ways that you are going to look at it before you take your decision. And I will go with that first. In most time, I'll go with that to look at where you can create value in the house so that it can generate additional income for you, because your home's supposed to be an asset, not a liability.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most people buy a liability.
Liability. Yeah.
So so
But
so
we don't like to take advice. We have coconut head.
yeah. Oftentimes,
We
what
have
I've
coconut head. If you are telling somebody don't buy this house or buy like this, we will not listen. We'll go and buy the one that will be choking us.
yeah, oftentimes this is what I see. I want to belong. I want to live in that neighborhood. I want to live in that kind of house that I have friends that are living. That
Yeah.
is what usually what I find.
Yeah.
And what works for you may not work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if we all start small, is or they start in a way that we can, somebody helping us to pay the mortgage and insurance and everything better for us.
Yeah.
And what I advise people first time home buyer, if you are able to afford a duplex is two family dwelling units, legal unit, where you live in one unit, rent the other. You can even buy a triplex, live in one unit and legally rent the two other units, and they help you to pay your mortgage.
Yeah.
So I mean, but if they don't listen to that, I go with whatever they plan to do. They have their money, they work for their money. And in reality, everybody deserves to enjoy the money that he has worked for.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. I think this is more or less going to be the last question that I will take for today's session. Um, is there any way I can buy a house without getting a mortgage, like paying a monthly payment to the owner or construction company? That way, one won't bother about the down payments.
Okay, I've never seen that happening in Canada
That,
here.
that should be rent to own, the rent to own model.
Okay, but you mentioned the construction company.
He said either the owner or construction company.
So let me explain how the rent to own model works.
Okay.
Okay, so rent to own model works in two ways, because you are going to be a tenant and you're also going to be a potential buyer of the same property. So you are signing two agreement. You are signing an agreement that you're a tenant. You are putting extra down payment down. Let's say the house is 350, and you are planning to buy in 3 years. So the owner can say, put in extra 10,000 as deposit that you are going to use in the next 3 years when you are ready to buy. So in that agreement, apart from the rental agreement, the rent to own agreement is going to be written there. If this person fulfill his right to buy the property, this 10,000 is going to serve as part of the deposit. If they fail and say, no, I'm not buying again, I'm tired, they lose that deposit of 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that is that. I mean, that is what a lot of people do not know about rent to own. Now,
Yeah.
so if they exercise that right, then that 10,000 belongs to them. The rent might be 1,000 every month, and there also going to be an agreement. You are going to be paying $200 extra, for example, towards your own down payment. So that $200 you are paying every month is added to the 10,000 that you are going to use in the future to buy the property. It's good for people who are maybe they are not currently getting approved by the for mortgage, or they don't have the down payment, or for one reason or the other they are not ready to buy the house now, but they are ready in the next few years.
Future.
It could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. So it's a win for the owner of the house. It's also a win for them, and because they take care of the property as if it belongs to them.
Okay.
And in 3 years they exercise their right to be able to buy the property. However, when they say, oh, I'm no longer buying, the extra money they are paying over the rent and the down payment extra they are putting, they are going to lose everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So because while you are doing what in that process, the owner is still paying his mortgage, is still doing everything. So the construction company that I know here in Canada do not build house for people, and they are going to be paying them. But you can buy house 100% your cash. If you have 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, you can buy your house and close your eyes. People do that. It's possible. People are doing it. So it's the only thing is that there are only few people that are able to afford that.
Wow. I didn't know that the clause around rent to own was that
Yeah,
deep. So you
there's a
just get to
clause.
lose everything. Like
Yeah,
even if you say you don't want to stay in that area again, that means everything is gone.
yeah.
Wow.
There's a clause. There's always a clause.
Wow.
So it's about getting prepared. I mean, making sure this is actually what you want. Because if it's actually what the person wants, it's good because you are contributing towards your down payment every month. You also have a large down payment that you are looking out to use at the end of the 3 years.
Yeah.
You're also preparing for if your credit score is not good in those 2 3 years. You are preparing to make sure you have
Build your credit score.
build your credit score for that time. So it's supposed to be a win-win. It's never a win for one person, for one party out of
Okay.
them, except maybe one of them does not know what he's doing.
What if the owner of the property says he doesn't want to sell again? Will he refund the down payment?
No, he cannot say. He can take the person to court and win easily because there's an agreement they already signed. He's
Okay.
going to win easily.
Okay.
You know, one of the beautiful things about this country is the fact that nobody can take you for a ride. You know your right. It's easy. He has to compensate you heavily.
Wow. Okay, what of pre-construction properties? What do you have to say about that? I think I was gearing towards that area of, I feel that pre-construction properties are quite cheaper than a turnkey property. And I feel people should take advantage of pre-construction properties instead of a
not people. That is what people think, especially in the large provinces. This is what happened in large provinces about
Toronto.
Ontario, Toronto.
Yeah.
People buy property and expect the property to appreciate by the time it's going to be finished and sell.
Yeah.
People speculate that. I call them speculators because they are not investors. So you buy a property for 800,000, put in maybe a deposit of 100,000. A lot of them lost their deposit in the last 1 year because by the time the property now closes, the property they bought for 800,000 is now short of 100,000 in value.
Wow.
And nobody is ready to buy. But This is how they have been taking advantage before. They buy for 800, they will sell for 1 million. They sell for 100, 900. They make money. And that is why people now say it's cheaper to buy at that time.
Reconstruction,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, to buy the pre-construction, because they know that before they finish, usually is at appreciate. But the economy proved them wrong. So that model does not work in every economy. I like to go for a model that work in every situation, that work for me in every situation. Whether the market is good or the market is bad, that works. So, but in reality, pre-construction, you can negotiate. You can say, this is what I want. This is how I want it. That is the beauty of pre-construction. I mean, you can negotiate and say this is what you want, especially for smaller and medium builders, who are still looking for client. They're still looking for customer. You can tell them, this is what I want. Do it for me this way, and they will do it exactly the way you want it. However, can you predict the price of the future? Nobody can predict the price of the future.
Wow. So I was actually going for pre-construction though. I was already saying that it's actually cheaper. But with this,
Well,
all this, except the person wants to use the property, not to sell it.
not in every circumstances.
Okay.
Not me. I mean, because if you have to compare apple to apple.
Apples.
Yeah. So if there's a 3-bedroom that is ready today and they want to sell it, for example, 400,000 bungalow, and there's pre-construction that they want to sell for 380. Yes, you can say the pre-construction is cheaper. Yeah, but if they are going to be selling them for the same price, it's not cheaper. But it gives you time to be able to get prepared. Maybe you are not 100% ready now. You have more time to get prepared. So that is one big advantage of pre-construction.
Okay. Okay, so which brings me to my last question before we wrap up for today. Thank you so much for joining us. My last question is, how do we make money from real estate?
Okay, good. That is real estate
How
investment.
can people make money from? Because some people are a lot of people, like, they do the mathematics and the mathematics is not matching. Like, they are not seeing where people are making money from real estate. So
Okay.
how can people make money from real estate in Canada?
So I'm going to answer that question by using my own experience. But let me say this. When people want to start a business, they go and learn about the business. They find someone who is doing it and is successful, and they learn from that person. So that person is a mentor.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when people want to buy real estate, they don't care. They just go and buy. So how do you expect such people to make money? So when I wanted to start real estate, there are two major providers of real estate education that time, Rich Dad Poor Dad and Yancey. Yancey is from the US as well, but we have the Rich Dad Poor Dad Canadian version. They came all the way from Toronto to Winnipeg. I was there. I learned as much as theory as possible. The Yancey, I registered for the second level. I registered. I consume as much as I bought books on real estate. I consume as much as possible. Without doing anything, I still had zero practical knowledge, even though I know how it works. Eventually, one book motivated me to start something, and it's a Canadian book. Investing in Canadian real estate. So I started. So the first rental I bought with a friend of mine. It's a duplex, 2-family dwelling unit. We bought for 150. We put in about 40,000 to renovate it. It wasn't in good shape. We put in 40,000 to renovate it. It was now in good shape. So everything inclusive is about 190. When they came, the bank came and they appraised it. They appraised it for 250. So we refinanced it. We got about 50-something thousand out. So it means we got all the money we put to renovate it, all the 100%. And some of the money we also used for down payment. And at the same time, the property was paying for itself and there's still cash flow about $100 per door, 2 doors. Now, I use that, the money we got, and buy the second rental property. I did the same thing, bought that one for 133,000. This was about 10 years ago. 133,000, used about another 30 something thousand to renovate. The bank came and reappraised for a higher price. That property I still hold it today, 591 Talbot. That property alone is fetching nothing less than $800 every month for me. So, bought a smaller property. All the money that I saved back home in Nigeria, I brought them by about 20 something thousand. A small bungalow, bought for about 120,000. The mortgage remaining on that property today is about 50,000. It's a small bungalow, and I still rent it out today for 1395. That property today is generating nothing less than 600 every month for me. So it's about what you buy, where to buy, where you bought it, and what kind of property is it. So, number one, I will advise such people, get the people that are doing this thing to advise you on what to buy. Don't go to the market and go and buy anything. Another thing, when you are investing in real estate, is you don't buy with emotion. You buy with numbers. Some people will say, oh, I don't that. And the first duplex that we bought with my partner, when our wives, when they came to that property, they ran out. They ran away. Because it was so, it
was bad.
Terribly bad. Smelling. But I knew that is where the money is.
Yes.
Because the gold, the raw gold, when you see the raw gold in the real sense of the raw gold, you and I will not be able to recognize it. The raw gold is not yellow, it's black.
Yeah.
When you see it on the street, you throw it at a stone. However, when it enters into fire, furnace, and is burned, then the real gold comes out. So the same thing with real estate. So I've bought property in dilapidated state, just like those ones, and I also bought turnkey ones. In fairly good neighborhood, in good neighborhood, and when you're also buying to invest in real estate, you consider two things. You consider the appreciation in the future. You also consider the cash flow.
Yeah.
Some property might not have good cash flow, but the appreciation is good for the future. But I make sure at least they still pay for themselves, so that I'm not going to be in a rush when I'm not supposed to sell, and I'm now going to sell because they are dipping money from my pocket month in, month out. So, and those ones that are also going to be putting cash flow to my pocket, I know these ones are, they're horses for me month in, month out. The money that I need for my grocery, for my family, they're coming from there every month. All I need to do is to pay attention to the management, to make sure tenants pay on time, and make sure the right tenants are there, and make sure the maintenance are done on time, to make sure the good tenants stay. I have tenants of 8 years, 9 years that are assisting in my properties.
Wow. That's a good one. Getting a good tenant is one of the biggest
very important. You have to learn all those things. When I started, nobody guided me, but I learned all those things over the years. I was always very desperate to put in tenants. So whether you are bad or good, I just put you there, and I depended on luck. And but I burned my finger several times, because even when those tenants are paying, they hands up damaging the space,
damaging the property,
and you have to use a lot of money to
repair.
Bring it up for repair.
Okay, it's been an eye opener for us in this session, and I'm happy that you actually joined. I was worried at some point that you might not make it, but I'm glad that you made it, and I believe that all the people that attended this session, they have learned a lot from our session. And please, I'll be leaving his details on the description box of this video. He also has a YouTube channel that he talks about real estate, and please, I want you to subscribe. Please go and subscribe to his channel and give him all the support that he needs. Like I said, he's been a very good real estate expert that you can just call and seek advice. And if you want to buy properties, like if you want to invest in real estate, please reach out to him. He's hands-on, like he knows real estate at the back of his palm. If there's anything that you need to know about real estate, please reach out to Mr. Opoola. He's very, very good in that area. And I want to say thank you so much for joining us, for taking your time from your very busy schedule to join us and to let us know that there's actually value in having property investments in Canada. For those of us who are still spying the market and looking looking at the market and saying, well, should we go again or should we just respect ourselves, And before you even mentioned what you did for yourself, I talked about my own personality and what I wanted. I'm not the type of person that will go for mansions. I actually said it that I'm a small house kind of person. Houses that I know if I buy today, I can leave it and rent it out to the next person. And that's my kind of person. That's how people make their money in real estate. And that's what he actually said. And that's how he started, like buying properties that were not in good shape, fixing them up and then putting that for rent. And he's not going for the mansions. He's going for those small, small properties. So you can take this value from this conversation and implement it for yourself. But at the end of the day, you are the person that will decide for yourself. We Africans, we are too stubborn. We want to do things ourselves. I was even talking about how Indians come together and buy land and then develop properties and sell. And that our community, African community, we are still trying to find that synergy where we will come together and buy lands and then start developing properties. We are still trying to get there. And I hope that we get there as fast as possible because, the Indians are actually making a kill out of real estate in Canada. They are dominating. I don't know why they like to dominate all the industries.
Well, I think we just need to learn from them. They have community sense that we don't have. It's not that they don't fight; they fight because as a real estate investor and also a realtor, I have a lot of them as my friends and business people that we work together. But they are exploiting a lot of opportunity in Canada. They constitute majorly on as builders. Construction companies, developers in this country.
Yeah, they are doing a lot, and our community, we need to come together to be able to penetrate that market as well. So I want to say a very big thank you. I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you so much for joining us this live. And I'll believe his number is on the screen. Please reach out to him, 204-963-7811. If you want to buy properties, if you want to join his newsletter and all of that, please reach out to him.
My YouTube channel. You should join my YouTube channel.
Yeah, join and also subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'll put it on the screen as well. After this conversation, I'll put his YouTube channel on the description box of this video so that you can subscribe to his channel and also reach out to him if you want to buy properties. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, my people, thank you so much. I'll put his YouTube channel on the description box of this video. You can subscribe. I want to say a very big thank you for joining me on this short Saturday YouTube live about Canadian real estate. As from Monday, by God's grace, God help me, I'll start talking about all these latest news going on about Canadian immigration and also talk about immigration to other countries as well, so that people can take advantage of other countries. If Canada is not working, you shouldn't sleep on Canada alone. There are other places that you can go to. And if you're in Canada and things are also not working for you in Canada, there are other places you can move to with your Canadian experience, and they will value you. So thank you so much for taking your time to join me on this Saturday evening. I really appreciate every one of you that you spent your time to listen to our conversations today. Thank you so much, and see you in my next video. I also want to mention that I actually have created another channel where I can be talking about other things that has nothing to do with immigration. This channel is just like is immigration, immigration, immigration. But there are so many things that I have experienced living in Canada that might not align with this channel that I want to talk about in another channel. So I actually did create that channel since 2017, but I've not been using it, but I want to start using it. And it's called Wolo's Canadian Life. So I'm going to post it on the community tab. And you can also subscribe if you want to just anything random about life, my thought process, like what things that are happening, some kind of shocking things that are happening in Canada. I want to be talking about those things in the other channel, not this channel. This channel is strictly for immigration and things that can help people immigrate and become permanent residents and citizens. Okay, so that's it. If you are interested in that other channel, I'll put the details in the community tab so that you can subscribe to that channel, and I'll also start posting those kind of content on that channel. It's just general about life, general, like some kind of things that I just want to express myself, but I can't express myself in this channel. Okay, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful Saturday, and I'm happy that I am strong enough and I am back to creating content for this channel. Thank you so much. I love you guys for sticking with me. Thank you so much, and have a good evening and enjoy your weekend. All right, bye-bye.